You're listening to the A to Z of Human Performance live show weekdays at 13:30 GMT with Chris Lissaman and resident expert Jonna Sercombe. Please enjoy responsibly. So there we go. Welcome to Motivation and Mood Music.
Another episode of the A to Z of Human Performance. Welcome to the show. I'm joined by our expert Jonna again. How are you doing, Jonna? Are you motivated?
Resident. I am resident and I'm ready to go.
Great. That's all we need.
Looking forward to this.
Yeah, I am too. We've got a few people joining us live, which is great. Welcome to the show. If you've missed any shows, they're all on our website, interactiveworkshops.com. But today our focus is motivation, which, Jonna, at the moment has been a little bit hard to come by due to some unforeseen circumstances.
That may be your challenge, Chris. I have other challenges, which is that if you're locked in a household with demotivated people and you come across too motivated, you can actually upset everybody. So I have to try and make sure I don't keep telling people I'm enjoying myself too much.
Yeah, of course. Jonna, let's start with what exactly is motivation?
Well, I like this quote from Irving Welsh in Trainspotting. By definition, you have to live until you die. Better to make that life as complete and enjoyable an experience as possible in case death is shite, which I very much suspect it will be. I mean, let's think about the opportunities we have in this earth. We're here for a limited number of years. And the question is, I guess, whether we want to make the most of it. And if we do, then we will need our motivation. Baumeister, top psychologist, basically simplifies the whole thing down to one thing: want. What do you actually want? And, motivation is key to high performance. That does not mean all high performers are motivated, for example. So, you can be a top performer and not be motivated. You can still be very, very good at what you do. But high performance motivation is certainly one of the integral parts of high performance overall. And so there's want, there's something that you want. There's perhaps cognition. There's also thoughts, and then there's also emotion. What you actually feel.
Okay. And how is our motivation influenced? What kind of things are feeding into it?
Yeah, I mean, you could look at your life story. I think that's probably the start point, and think about the narrative that you imagine for yourself over the course of your lifetime. I think this is I think a lot of our motivation comes from our expectations, and we've talked about those before. They're somehow subjective, but our expectations, let's just say, for example, salary. Our expectations of salary might provide a motivation for us. If we feel we are earning more than we ever expected, we might be motivated and surprised by that. If we feel we are earning significantly less than we're worth, then we might be demotivated. But there's something about our life narrative. Go into the world of sport. Imagine you're playing in League One, but you believe you're a championship player. You could easily see that you could perhaps be demotivated. But if you're playing in League One and you're even lower level player, you could see that as the pinnacle of what you could achieve. So the actual objective situations we find ourselves in, we're all human beings are created equal on one level, aren't they? But so I think a lot of our motivation comes from our expectations of our life and our life narrative, and that's part of where that motivation comes from. And then some people just have these inner drivers that, for no reason, make them want to do things.
Yeah. Okay. So we've got different factors coming in. Our environment, the league that we might play in, might be a factor based on our expectations, and expectations, as you say, will play a big part of it. What are the different types of motivation that we might come across?
Well, we talk normally about intrinsic and extrinsic motivation, and those are kind of two. One is the motivation that comes from within, inner stimulus, and the other is one that comes from without. So coming back to pay, we actually should be very specific. Many people's intrinsic motivation is to get a pay rise. And of course, that's an inner motivation. And when you get that pay rise, actually the motivation is taken away. So the motivation to get a pay rise is very different from the feelings of whether what you're getting paid is motivating to you. Yeah, what you expect. So it is very, very subtle and very interesting. And again, there's a lot of research on Premier League footballers, but those that make big money signings and, make big club moves, actually when they've made that move, let's say they get to Manchester United or they get to Barcelona, instantly their motivation disappears somehow, and they wake up feeling like the pressure instead. Because when they were playing at a lower level, they had the motivation to get there, and once they've got there, it's kind of gone. So, you see this again, senior leaders moving into high positions in organisations. They've powered through their early phase of their career ambitiously and motivated to progress. And once they reach a certain goal that's set in their own minds, then that disappears. And then they've got to search for other motivations.
Yeah, so you do see it in sport, don't you? Yeah, you get that big deal, big contract, and then the playing, the performance when you're playing drops. And yeah, in business as well, big position. Perhaps you get to a position you've wanted for decades, and then the performance peak drops off.
Yeah, so you can get into that role, the challenge to get there. You maybe got a year to prove yourself, and then suddenly it's like, all right, what now? And I think for all of us, it's very difficult when our motivation drops off. And I really love this quote from David Cameron, former UK PM, when he was talking about his faith. And he was obviously politicians of faith. They've got to be very careful what they say. But he was saying that, they asked him what about his faith, and he said, well, it comes and goes like a radio station signal in the Cotswolds, i.e., sometimes it's intermittent. I think motivation is really like that. We try and label people as motivated or unmotivated, but for all of us, our motivation comes and goes, and we're motivated by different things in different ways. And even something that motivates us for a long time can then lose its motivational power as well.
Yeah, and it's making me think of when I went up Ben Nevis, and the journey to the top. That's exciting. That's to get to the top of Ben Nevis would be such an achievement. But then when you get to the top, it's incredible. But then you've got to come back down, and that coming back down is so different to going up because you've already got to the top. You've done what you wanted to do. Now you just want to be home. You could just go home if you could. But
I've spent a lot of time studying the people that climb high mountains.
Yeah.
And Ed Vistas wrote some brilliant books. He's one of the world's greatest climbers. That what you've described there on Everest, they call summit fever, which is the desire and motivation to get to the top is extremely high and will cause us to take risks, even life-threatening risks to do it. But as he pointed out, getting to the top is optional. Getting down is mandatory. And the death rates of people coming down these mountains, many, many more people die on their way down, partly because their motivation to achieve, they've pushed on, they've pushed through difficulty, they feel they've got there. And that real motivation to succeed is there. And then on the way down, they're just like, I've got to get back to camp. I'm tired. I'm exhausted. I'm alone. I'm cold. I've been climbing all day. Maybe they used up reserves on the way up that they should have saved for the way down. And actually coming back to outcome goals, they probably had an outcome goal to get to the top.
Yeah,
and that isn't the right goal for climbing high mountains. The right goal for climbing high mountains is, as Ed Visser says, to get back down, which is mandatory. So, there's a deep need to understand the difference between what's healthy for us in motivation and what isn't. And again, you could look at things like the dieting industry or things. It's easy to get an eating disorder if you've got the wrong goal of health.
Yeah.
It's easy to make mistakes with money if you've got the wrong goal of becoming rich quick.
Yeah.
And it's easy to make a lot of mistakes in business if you let your ego run the show. So
we've got to get the right goal. We've got to have the right process in place. And we're thinking about climbing a mountain. We could widen it and just think about reasons for exercise. And I know you like playing a game on the show.
Yeah, let's have a little game, anyway.
So perhaps we can go back and forth, coming up with a reason that you might exercise.
Yeah, so why do people exercise? I mean,
why do people do it?
Fun and enjoyment.
Yeah, that could be one.
So some people, that's just like children running around. They want to run and jump. There's a game I used to play with my running buddies, fartlek training, which is where one of you basically run around and then one of you diverts and the other has to chase them. Wherever they go, you have to follow.
Yeah.
And then, someone else takes over when they're exhausted. You've got to try and follow them. It's a form of interval training, but the motivation for it's just sheer childlike intrinsic joy. Yeah. Why else do people exercise?
For the sense of challenge. That's a big one for me. I like the Strava app. I like my personal bests. And I like just getting my head down and getting that best time. Yeah,
so there's a different motivation. Actually, you want to get in the flow. You want to have a performance zone. You want to get in the zone, challenge yourself, shut out everything else, optimize and go.
Yeah. What's
I
another
guess some people exercise for external regulation, i.e. they're made to do it. So their coach gives them a program and that's what they've got to do.
one? Right.
So there's another one. What else? Why else do people exercise?
Could be a goal. So rather than just
Couch to
going
5K.
for a challenge, you've actually got, your couch to 5K. You
Couch
want
to
to run
5K.
10K. I did that over the lockdown.
Yeah. I mean, if you said to some people, they said, I want to run 5K, and you said, well, it's fun. Yeah, that would be the intrinsic motivation of childlike joy.
Yeah.
For them, they need a goal. They want to run a certain distance or time. Couch to 5K, very, very popular and very motivating because it uses the word couch to people that like sitting on their couch.
Yeah.
Is that wrong? It's
Potentially.
rapport building. It's very important.
I don't think you have to start on the couch.
I thought you had to get your running gear on, sit on the couch, and then go.
No, I don't think you have to do that every time.
But this is perhaps on communication, but it is very rapport building.
It is.
This is and it's a process. Couch to 5K. Very, very clever. Great branding. It's a process. Very motivating. Yeah. Why else do people exercise? Health benefits. So like they have it as a value, you know. Some people are motivated. They've got a set of values they're trying to live out. Maybe, again, like they're bringing that value to life. Why else?
Just because a sense of excellence, a sense of setting a standard for yourself that you should exercise.
They have a benchmark standard and they want to do it. Again, famously, Ron Hill. I don't know if you ever wore a pair of Ron Hills. Very, very tight, lightweight mounted shorts. Ron Hill. He was a very famous mountain runner and ran a mile every day for his whole life from the ages of about, 30 to about 75 or 80, including the day after he broke his leg. So he went on a streak, actually. Right. But in his mind, he was going to run a mile every day for the rest of his life. And he went on a streak to do that. Again, different kind of motivation, consistency, perhaps related to a value as well, to the point where even after he broke his leg, he ran a mile that day.
That's absolutely incredible.
Yeah, it's incredible, isn't it? It's good.
Give me another one.
I think some people want to, they're motivated by inspiration of themselves, defining what's possible, inspiring others. Some parents might be out there jogging to show their kids it's a good way to go. What else? Give us another reason why people exercise, Chris.
To improve their mood. So especially at the moment, I'm trying to get out of the house to run just for a bit of a mood boost.
I meant to ask you.
The hormones.
In the diary? Is it in the diary?
It's not in the diary. I never put it in the diary.
Is it in the mental diary?
Yeah, it is in the mental diary.
Is it?
Yeah.
You didn't sound that committed, Chris.
I mean,
it's a possibility.
It's in the mental diary in that I feel like I should go almost every other day.
Yeah.
But I haven't nailed that day.
Yeah, I mean, it's very good for the mood. Exactly, and we'll come on to that in a minute. I like this one, but other people do things to alleviate guilt. And some people might go and do running for that reason as well. And we talk about running, but it could be anything. It just shows there's so many different types of motivation. But imagine if, you eat a Mars bar and you think, I better go for a run. Boxing Day. What happens at your house on Christmas, Boxing Day? Christmas and Boxing Day, I have to go for runs or something because I know I'm going to do something naughty.
The motivation builds as the more I eat.
Enormous amounts of food.
Yeah.
Okay. What about, so you've spoken about mood, also relieve stress and anxiety. What about social? So spend time with friends.
Yeah.
In the cycling world, it's very big. It's a very social activity. And I realised the power of motivation. I go out at 7 o'clock every weekend, either Saturday or Sunday. Rain, shine, snow, cold. I go out for 3 or 4 hour cycle ride. And ultimately, the real motivation is social. So do my mates and what we go together. So many different types of motivation. High performers, I guess, are plugging into all of those. And I think what's helpful is to realise if we can plug into as many different motivators as possible and align them, our motivation gets bigger and bigger and bigger. But also we have leaks in motivation, don't we? And something's really take away our motivation. If we can plug those gaps and make those changes and close those motivational gaps, then we're not losing motivation either. I had an example of that this week at work in trying to achieve high performance. I wanted to delegate not just some tasks, but some responsibility in order that I didn't have to think about them anymore. And that was becoming a motivational drain on me, thinking I've got too much responsibility for this on my plate. I need to delegate that. Once that's done, I've got a massive boost of creativity and motivation because I know that those things are now sitting with other people. So plugging leaks is also really valuable for how we're motivated.
So we've got to plug that.
What's your motivational leaks at the moment, Chris? What's annoying you?
One of my leaks, yeah. So
Apart from your difficult boss and having to do a radio show every day.
I mean, for most people at the moment, it's just the fact you can't really get out other than that little bit of exercise that you can do. So the lack of social.
Social.
I think I'm massively motivated by social. We just mentioned it there, but the relationships that you can build through work or exercise or things you do in the community, they're massive.
You're a community, social, connected guy, and that motivates you on lots of different levels.
Yeah.
Well, you are now one outdoor running partner, Chris.
You are, yeah.
Who's yours?
I don't have one.
Chris, homework for tonight.
Yeah.
That'll help.
Need to run, buddy.
Stay 2 meters.
Yeah, definitely. Now, I was just going to ask, Jonna, do you think there are different types of motivation that are our go-to and that perhaps appeal to us more, and we can use that to our advantage?
I think for many of us, we've got a good understanding of what motivates us, yes. And I think we go to those. I think that with the help of a motivational coach or a performance expert, you can actually align many, many more motivations, plug leaks, and set out a performance pathway that is very, very satisfying for you. So I do think that for your average person, their understanding of motivation is pretty limited. Okay, if you talk to a manager in an organization, say, how do you motivate a team? They'll just say things like, have an inspirational vision, have rewards in place, have, recognition programs. They'll reach for some very, very simplistic, very powerful still, but simplistic tools. Coming back to this, what we said at the start, if you're a top leader and manager, that you should understand that your biggest motivational tool is story. To have a narrative that other people can use their imaginations to buy into, and where they might go and what they might do over a number of years. If you can get that narrative right, it's supremely motivating. And that's a lot of employee engagement is about creating the organizational story. But that story can last many, many more times and setbacks than a pay rise or a bonus or any other things that go with it.
Yeah, so we've got to manage our own sense of narrative, where we're going, where we've come from,
Life
and use
narrative.
that motivate us.
Yeah, people talk about purpose, don't they? But I just think, we do want a purpose, but our life narrative is so critical. And why do people get depressed? Why do people get down? Why do they feel low? For many reasons, but one of them is that their life narrative is not where they would like it to be, and they lose hope. They can't see how they get it back on track. So a lot of therapists and a lot of people also working to help others get back to a good life narrative.
Yeah, and at the moment, motivation generally for people is low. They're finding it difficult. We're in lockdown, especially here in the UK. It's grey. It's winter. Motivation is generally low. What can we do? Should we be concerned by that? Should we be trying to boost that?
Well, just to clarify, I'd say that on average, motivation is low.
Yeah.
I think you will see there's very specific subsets of people. So I think on average, most people are not able to control or choose their motivation all the time.
Yeah.
There are a subset of people, and high performers will be amongst them, who has suffered very limited drop-off in motivation during this time because they do not let external factors impact how they respond. If you remember back to our choosing, they're able to choose their mood. And we use the term mood music in the book, but some people are able to turn on a mental tune or even external tune, and despite seemingly all setbacks, all evidence to the contrary, all boundaries, all restrictions, people who suffer setbacks, some people are able to choose their response. Steph will show me a brilliant clip from Twitter of someone who'd lost a load of money in business and was driving his van saying, in a very Cockney way, like, yeah, we push on, I don't care. Like, I've wasted a whole year's effort, but I'm going to go on. Like, this is where we're going to go. So, it doesn't take any intellectual sophistication. It's purely the habit of choosing how you show up. So, but I think you could ask also what's going on in the physiology right now. And when it comes to physiology, that's where we're facing a lot of challenges in the lockdown, coronavirus times. It affects, there's basically 5 systems in our body that can create this kind of motivation. One is our hormonal activity, chemicals in our saliva or blood, cortisol, those kind of things. Those things are being impacted by our behaviour of staying at home, and maybe we're eating too much or the wrong stuff, or we're stressed. We've then got cardiovascular activity. I don't know when you meet someone that you fancy, but your heart and lungs your heart rate might go up. Did you ever have a beating heart, Chris?
Yeah, of course.
And now you're married to her. It's lovely. But there's movement as well, which brings this kind of cardiovascular activity. So this is another kind of physiological stimulus. Then we've got eye behaviour. What we're taking in. We're currently kind of sat staring at the same four walls all day, same people. There's not that much visual stimulation. So like one thing that is good to do is escapism. Like I'm watching films in the evening and imagining myself in different places. I'm going out for my walk and really trying to take in all the details around me, stimulating the eyes. That has an effect on our cognitive state, our reflective thought. We've got our skin electrodermal activity. That's another thing. When we meet other people, you're saying social. When we meet other people and they pat you on the back, give you a hug, shake your hand, our physiology is being stimulated by external events. And, there's loads of studies on skin conductivity, but, when we're stressed as well, that changes. And then there's our skeletal activity, our muscles, our facial expressions, our emotions. Again, we talked about sense of smell, but your mirror neurons within your brain react to other people's faces. If I smile, it's hard for you not to smile.
Yeah.
When we're in a social situation, we're getting all this stimulus. So if someone motivated turns up into your social system and says, "Oh, hey guys, I saw a brilliant film last night. It was really great. I had a great meal out. I saw my family." Their tone of voice and all their positivity is spilling over to in our motivation. So yeah, when we're locked into this kind of current situation, there's a lot of motivational cues that are missing, and it means we have to work a little bit harder, I think, to be motivated. But this could be a good training ground for life, to think about how we stay motivated in challenging conditions.
Yeah, so those are some of the psychophysiological expressions that we're perhaps missing because we're not able to leave the house, and maybe that means it's actually a little bit fair that we are less motivated. That's gonna be natural.
Yeah,
part of
I mean, our hormonal system. I'm seeing you. I see your beautiful face. I hear everything you say, but I can't smell you. I can't hug you.
We can't actually make eye contact.
Yeah, we can't actually make proper
I can look
eye
at your
contact.
eyes, you can look at mine.
You would be able to see, if we were together and we were having a great time, though you might not realise it, my eye pupils will be expanding slightly, and that would make yours expand slightly, and that would make mine expand slightly. That would make me smile. That would make you smile. So, there's a lot of stimulation that we get from being around other people. And, one of the tips of motivation, hang out with other brilliantly motivated people.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what Emma does with her team as well. When she's training for an event, it's not just competitors, but she's hanging out with other people who are massively motivated as well.
Yeah, I'm interested what you think on a cultural level, because I think there's a bit of a paradox. So should you allow a place for people to be demotivated, because that's empathetic and deep and good and allows people to be authentic, or should you expect people to show up motivated? I'm still can't work that one out.
That is interesting. I think it comes back to your goals and your beliefs. If you're trying to achieve something and that involves being motivated and showing up and being motivated, then if motivation dropping would mean you wouldn't achieve it, then it puts the goal at risk. And I think that would obviously be a negative.
Let's say you're a Premiership manager.
Okay.
20 players arriving for training.
Yeah.
Are they allowed to arrive demotivated?
I think you'd be hoping that if they did, it would come out in a way that was constructive. So perhaps they take you to the side and just say, "Look, for this reason or for a reason I don't understand, I'm not feeling motivated and just wanted you to know." That I think would be okay. If it was that they just didn't bother putting in any effort in the session, didn't say anything, went home without talking about it.
So the cognitive part, the kind of cognitive framing of it's really important, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
I think it's totally understandable if someone arrives to, over time our motivations change. It might be that you're motivated at the start of a job, or over time it disappears. But I think it's interesting, kind of try and create a high performance environment. You need people to own their own motivation as much as they can. and to show up and to bring their best. Again, it'd be interesting on a customer service environment, you know, go to the Apple store and mooch around. There's a lot of intrinsically motivated people that want to be there. They like knowing about Apple stuff. It's very different from a customer service environment where, let's say, I don't know, a big hotel where every receptionist has a great smile on their face, but you know, for some of them, it's not necessarily real. No. So it comes back to culture. We discussed that before.
Yeah. And then in terms of habituators, what can we do to boost our motivation, to work on our motivation, or to think through the different types of motivation that we might be able to tap into?
Well, we talked about plugging leaks. I think that's key. Think about who we surround ourselves with, especially if you could interview somebody. This is one of the habituators, but try and really understand more deeply what motivates the people you know that are motivated. I think you could go through, I mean, we've got a long list of motivators in our little skit about running, but you could really try and think through, you know, what motivates you. You could I read biography a lot, and I try and understand different motivators there. Study flow psychology. You could, you know, practice setting an intention. You could do some goals work. You might need to do some escape, get away, think about what motivates you. And that can be macro or micro. Like I try and go for a walk outside every day, think about why I'm here, think, you know, taking some stimulus. So yeah, there's loads of different things that we can do. And maybe the biggest one is to try to think what success looks like for us, what a good life lived looks like for us, that expectation, and to try and put together a process that enables us to head towards motivating goals. Yeah, so if you want to be a high performer, I guess that's some of the things that I'd be suggesting to do. What are your next step, Chris? You're already a motivated man. Anything there that sticks?
I think it's I think plugging leaks is helpful, and noticing where that motivation is dropping. It's one thing to say we're just less motivated because we're stuck inside, but actually knowing where that's leaking out and what I'm perhaps missing that I would be getting if I was able to leave the house. Yeah. That's a different question and requires me to self-manage and improve my motivation.
But that introspection, unbiased introspection, is extremely powerful. And I guess that's what I'd want to do with the football players if they're turning up unmotivated. I tell them, I can see you're not fully into this. I'd like to go away and think about what's going on there, so that we can work out together how you can be either make a decision, this is not for you. But the worst thing is if you've got people turning up, they don't know why and you don't know why.
You can't get to the bottom of it.
Yeah. So I mean, it's deep, isn't it? Great. I know we're running out of time.
We are running out of time. That's been a really helpful session, and I hope it's been helpful for our listeners. Join us tomorrow. We're back again, 13:30 GMT. Thank you for joining me, Jonna.
Every day this week, and we've just discussed this morning, we might have a few bonus shows, might we? Because we
might carry on in February,
but we maybe do more. Cool. Have a great rest of the day.
And you, Jonna. See you tomorrow.